Hello, good evening, and welcome to Eye on Port here on Metropolitan Television. Eye on Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, MPS, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, GPHA. And our media partner on this journey of a lifetime is the Business and Financial Times. Now, if you want to have a grasp of all that transpired in the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here tonight on the show. We are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Eye on Port Ghana. Eye on Port Ghana. We shall be getting interactive with you, and so all you have to do is pick your phones, relax, and just send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559 019 177. 0559 019 177. When the time is ripe and I pick signals from the production team, we shall be activating the phone line for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the show. Please stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame, Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Raw 95.
Fill up with Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from GWEL.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for GWEL Super XP Raw 95. GWEL, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah, our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the flood have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the project, and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We are now going to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And indeed, in the course of the week, the Ports Management Association of West and Central Africa, PMAWCA, held its for the third annual council meeting and 18th roundtable of the managing directors and director generals of ports in West and Central Africa. We have that particular story for you, plus the fact that our ports in West and Central Africa are also fully prepared to aid the smooth implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That's according to the Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. We have that story for you as well. And then in the course of the week, the Tema branch of the Ghana Institute of Trade Forwarders, GIFF, also held an elections debate. That's for aspirants who wants to take up leadership roles in that particular branch. Let's take a look at these stories and more.
The Tema branch of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders has for the first time organized a debate for persons vying for various positions of the institute at the national level. The event afforded the candidates the opportunity to sell their messages across to members. The vacant positions include President, First Vice President, and Second Vice President. The various candidates shared their vision and why the members should repose their confidence in them.
My vision is to establish Ghana's freight forwarding industry as a global benchmark for efficiency, transparency, and professionalism, as we always say. I aim to cultivate an environment where business will strive and trade flourishes through seamless logistics solutions.
Leadership of GIFF needs strategy, needs innovation, and this should center around these fields that I mentioned: capacity building of independence. How are we empowering them to innovate? Things are changing. That's what I'm bringing on board.
In my days as an executive member, there was an issue of ASHI, and my chairmanship time there was an issue of CTN, travel, and all that. Foreign banks on our business, trying to take our business and all that. We have fought those, despite all the committees that came together to make sure that those jobs are done. I was part of it.
I am ready, very competent. I'm coming to assist the president to deliver his vision. Mine will be suggestion to the president through council. If I suggest, the president accepts, and we take it to council, and council accepts it, fine, it will go through.
I will focus on enhancing transparency, accountability, and integrity within the institute by promoting ethical conduct and ensuring compliance with industry regulations. We will bolster our reputation as a trustworthy and credible institution.
I want to be a servant to all with my rich industrial exposure, and also add to the good job done by our forerunners.
The chairman of the Tema district of GIFF, Johnny Mante, was impressed about interactions and hoped that members would be able to make an informed decision following the debate.
We've had an interesting session in terms of what members, aspirants would want to do when they come into office. It's been well noted, and I think that we are hoping that the other districts will emulate this.
A delegation comprising representatives of businesses based in Denmark have visited Ghana with the hope of establishing business partnerships with Ghanaian entities and corporations. As part of their visit, the team visited the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority to familiarize themselves with the maritime space and business opportunities that emerge out of that environment. They were briefed about the myriad of services offered by the Port Authority.
We do the offloading and loading of cargo on vessels. Every cargo is precious and is different. So for example, the water purification system will be handled differently depending on the type of packaging it is, if it comes in containers. When it comes to pharmaceuticals too, we have reefer facilities. Pharmaceuticals are supposed to be temperature controlled, So they are not handled like the dry containers. All the Terminal 2, Terminal 3, all of them have reefer points, and there are dedicated off-dock reefer facilities as well.
The team also presented peculiar interest for collaborations in the health sector, where they were told about the world-class International Maritime Hospital.
Our international hospital, see the international, see that cross in the middle. It's a helipad. It's a helipad, so people, patients, emergencies, others can fly in there directly from our oil fields, which is offshore. They can fly them there, and if there's an emergency on the highway, we are very close to the Trans-West African Highway. It just passes by our backyard, isn't it? So if there are any accidents, or if somebody wants to come from Togo, it's very easy. And people come, in fact, people coming from Liberia and Sierra Leone.
Some businessmen from the delegation shared their service offerings with Ion Port.
This is WHO verified. We're working with UNICEF, we're working with Red Cross, we're working with World Vision, all the biggest NGOs in the world. They're using this because people don't like to use chlorine, because chlorine gives a bad taste, it gives a bad smell. People don't like to put chemicals in their bodies. So you can use this 500 times. 500 times will give you 2,000 liters of water, and it's just $4. More than a year, and it's just $4, so it's the most affordable water purification solution in the world.
The Bioinnovation Institute is based in Copenhagen, and we build life sciences companies. So we take very early stage researchers and help them build companies around their products. This can be therapeutics, so medicine discovery and medtech, ways of treating diseases, so treatment facilities, technologies, agtech, someone working on natural fertilizers or natural ways of treating animal disease. So we take these companies in, big ideas, develop them into viable commercial companies, and now we are helping them to go out in the world. And we have two objectives in this. Of course, they have to remain business sustainable, but they also need to deliver wide-scale societal impact.
The 43rd Annual Council Meeting and 18th Roundtable of Director Generals and Managing Directors of the Ports Management Association of West and Central Africa, PMAWCA, has ended in Lagos, Nigeria. Drawing participation from all PMAWCA member countries spanning West and Central Africa, this year's meeting centered on the preparedness of PMAWCA ports to aid the smooth and effective implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The meeting drew attendance from more than 250 delegates and was held from the 6th through to the 9th of November under the theme, The Role of Ports in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Opening the meeting, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who was represented by the Minister for Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, underscored the importance of the maritime sector to the development of the economies of the various countries. According to him, the need to invest in infrastructure is even more pronounced now with the inception of AfCFTA.
As a government that believes in the necessity of infusing information technology into public management to aid transparency and its business processes, we are giving the Nigerian Ports Authority all the backing necessary to fast-track the operationalization of the port community system, which is a precursor to the implementation of the Nigerian single window, because we are persuaded that full automation is the only way to go if we plan to remain competitive in the global maritime industry.
Host of the meeting and Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Mohammed Bello Kuku, in his welcome remarks, was emphatic on the need for ports to take matters of sustainability seriously. According to him, countries in West and Central Africa are linked in challenges and multiple opportunities.
Countries in West and Central Africa are linked by challenges and multiple opportunities. Therefore, given the increasing realization of the leverage that economic cooperation confers in the international arena, would be doing great disservice to ourselves if we fail to maximize this unity through the cooperation of our ports.
The Comptroller of the Nigerian Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeyini, on his part called for effective collaboration between Customs Administration and port authorities to aid smooth trade facilitation under the AfCFTA. He averred that trade is very central to development, fosters prosperity with the attendant's peace and security.
Once stakeholders across all of Africa gathered together to discuss an issue that is germane to African development, we all must give it the support that is necessary.
Ports in West and Central Africa are fully prepared in terms of infrastructure and otherwise to aid the implementation of the AfCFTA. The Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Lugoje, who made the declaration during the 43rd Annual Council meeting and 18th Roundtable of the Director Generals and Managing Directors of the Port Management Association of West and Central Africa, averred that the ports have been positioned to take advantage of the agreement. Michael Lugoje was chairing a plenary session on how AfCFTA has fared 3 years on. The GPHA Director General, who also doubles as the Vice President of the International Ports and Harbours Association, expressed optimism about the readiness of the ports to aid exports on the continent. According to him, the ports have developed some appreciable level of expertise in the handling of exports.
I say to a large extent, the ports have facilities to handle cargo on ships. We have facilities to handle cargo on ships. Our capacity has been tested as far as imports. But we haven't been able to even achieve 40% capacity for export shipment to our ports. And that is why we've been interested in AfCFTA. But that is going to help us generate cargo within the continent that must move from A to B. And like Customs said, they are going to then focus more on exports instead of imports. So what we can say is that we are assuring the trading public, the industrial public, after ISAP, that the ports are ready.
The Executive Secretary of the National Action Committee on AfCFTA in Nigeria, Olusegun Awolowo, on his part, explained how AfCFTA has become the biggest trading bloc in the world and why it is imperative for Africa to give it her all.
A market of 1.2 billion people. It has a combined GDP of some $3 trillion. And what it means is zero tariffs on imports from Africa into Nigeria, for example. So the customs have realized that revenue is going to fall short when we start full implementation of AfCFTA, because African countries are not going to be paying duty again. So that's why the trade facilitation process is very important.
The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority swept 4 awards at the 7th edition of the African Ports Awards held in Lagos, Nigeria last week. GPHA won the award for the best port in Integrated Management System Policy, while the Port of Tema won the award for the best port in import and export and container traffic. The Director General of GPHA, Michael Lugoje, received a special incentive award. The General Manager in charge of Marketing and Corporate Affairs, Esther J.B. Donko, picked the award for the best woman in strategic project management, maritime and port sector, a special award reserved for distinguished members of the Port Women's Network in West and Central Africa. Speaking on behalf of all women award winners, Esther Jebidonko said the awards are a call to action where women will strive to give more in their respective roles in the industry. According to her, the award is a motivation that will inspire women to aspire to higher heights.
Break stereotypes and continue to advocate for opportunities for women in the maritime industry.
This award comes on the back of an earlier one she received at the 10th African and Spanish Maritime and Port Women's Conference in Las Palmas. Esther Jebidonko was honored for her pioneering role in the industry, especially in the network of professional women in maritime port sectors of West and Central Africa. The award was received on her behalf by Abna Sewa Pokufosu, President of the Ghana Chapter of Professional Women in Maritime and Port Sectors of West and Central Africa, and Marketing and Public Affairs Manager of the Port of Tema.
All right, so those were some happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the weekend. We took you to Nigeria, where you saw the stories emanating from the 43rd Annual Council meeting of the Ports Management Association of Western Central Africa and the 18th Roundtable of Managing Directors and Director Generals of PMAWCA. We're now going for some international ports and shipping news.
The United States International Development Finance Corporation, DFC, has committed more than $500 million to support the development of a deep water shipping container terminal in the port of Colombo, Sri Lanka. Specifically, DFC launched $553 million in financing to Colombo West International Terminal Private Limited to support the development of the Deep Water West Container Terminal located within the port of Colombo. The new terminal reflects DFC's commitment to financing high-quality infrastructure that supports development needs, invests in local communities, and is respectful of local financial conditions. The investment further demonstrates the United States' enduring commitment to Sri Lanka's economic growth and its regional economic integration, including with India. Mediterranean Shipping Company, the world's biggest shipping company, has named MSC Turkey one of the world's largest and most fuel-efficient container ships by design to date. The naming ceremony was held on October 30, the day following the Republic Day, which marked the 100th anniversary of the Turkish Republic. On the occasion, the newest Calestino Maresca class 24,000 TEU vessel made its maiden call at Asya Port, Turkey's largest transit container port. The 400-meter-long, 61-meter-wide vessel stands out with its lowest carbon footprint per container carried and a significant reduction in terms of carbon dioxide emissions per transport work, according to the company.
Welcome back. We are now going for the word or phrase of the day, and today's word or phrase of the day is breakwater. Breakwater.
Breakwaters refer to the physical structure that protects port infrastructure from the sea.
All right, welcome back. So we are zooming into our discussion proper tonight, and tonight we're taking a look at the readiness or preparedness of ports in Western Central Africa to aid the smooth implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA. This comes on the heels of the just ended Port Management Association of Western Central Africa for the 3rd Annual Council meeting and 18th Roundtable of Director Generals and Managing Directors, which theme centered on this particular topic. That's the role of ports in Western Central Africa to aid the effective implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And so tonight we are privileged to be joined by the Secretary General of the Ports Management Association of Western Central Africa, Monsieur Jean-Marie Kofi, who's joined us via Zoom all the way in Lagos, Nigeria. Indeed, we're supposed to be joined by the Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Mr. Mohammed Bello Koko, but in the last minute he said he had been given a presidential call to join an assignment out of the country, and so he couldn't join us because he would have been airborne at the time. And so in his place, we are privileged to have Mr. Louis Yao Afo in the studios, who is the Executive Director of the AfCFTA Policy Network Group. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good evening to you.
Awesome. Monsieur, good evening, and thank you very much. How's Nigeria?
Nigeria is fine. Good evening.
Oh, great. Good to have you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yes. All right, so first of all, I just want you to tell us about the 43rd Annual Council meeting and the 18th Roundtable of the Managing Directors and Director Generals of Ports in Western Central Africa, which just ended in Lagos, Nigeria, just a day or two ago. Can you tell us what it's all about and whether you think you realize the objectives of this particular year's conference?
Yeah, good evening once more. You know that the 43rd Council you got 2 days ago in Nigeria is give us some of advantage opportunity to talk about free trade area. The advent of African Continental Free Trade Area marks a major turning point for all countries on the continent because it could make it possible to unify and simplify these different trade facilitation agreements. Indeed, intra-African trade could generate endogenous growth, which could help more than 100 million Africans out of poverty. It was really an opportunity to talk about AfCFTA because the port is really involved on this matter, and you have to show that the role you are supposed to play through PMAWCA, this organization, and port members. So you talk about that one, but you have some of the challenges to face and to solve it, this problem on the port sides.
Okay. So at the end of the day, what were some of the conclusions that you arrived at?
PMAWCA can only rejoice at this great initiative and be part of this dynamic to better take advantage of this opportunity. Africa as a world only representative than less than 10% of international trade. In this perspective, PMAWCA supports the initiative of its members on the signification of administrative and custom procedure, the drastic reduction of custom duty, the elimination of administrative and bureaucratic burdens, the establishment of a port interface constituting a laboratory for experience, including the development of most advanced community digital solution. We support also for regulatory and normative reform, the challenge of the continental logistic network, which is considerable on the scale of the continent.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to find out, I want to find out from you what you are doing as PMAWCA to assist ports in West and Central Africa to position themselves properly to take advantage of this whole agreement. Do you have any things in place that you are doing to support your ports to be able to help in the implementation?
You know that PMAWCA is an organization association for member ports. Most of the time, what you used to do with member ports is you have some of a technical committee in our region and in our association. All those association technical committee, we have a finance committee, you have trade facilitation committees, all those committees, you have environmental committee. So you have some of meeting along all the year, and you work on it to be sure that you can build the capacity building and to face with all those challenges you have. So PMAWCA is trying also to standardize some of the regulation to be sure that member port, they can have this one in mind and work with this kind of a tool we are putting in place for them to grow the trade and to increase the volume of trade in our region.
Okay. All right. So, Monsieur, don't go. Let me come to the studio. Please stay with us. We'll come back to you. But let me go to the studios and get Mr. Louis Yawafo to give us your sense of appreciation of the preparedness or readiness of ports in Africa to aid the continental free trade area. Because you've done extensive work, on AfCFTA, coming from the AfCFTA Policy Network Group.
I think that, thank you again, and good evening to my colleague. I think that the ports and harbor, always have to differentiate the two.
Yes.
The belly of the whole agreement, the trade agreement. In fact, it's the spirit of the agreement. Because in one of the implementation strategies, AfCFTA is looking at trade-related infrastructure.
Right.
So ports and harbors are key infrastructure needs are key infrastructure vehicles that the AfCFTA can well be successful. Why? Because you're looking at supply chain, world supply chain. You're looking at the African supply chain. Let me come down to Africa.
Yes.
And all these borders around, now that the goods are produced, how will the goods get to the consumers? If they're not going by maritime, they'll go by air or they'll go by road. So this is where it is important to really identify the role of ports and harbors in the implementation of the AfCFTA. If you are not producing and you are importing from another member state, where will the ships dock? Or where will they dock?
Yes.
Apart from that, how are you going to export your goods? And so it is imperative for us to understand that it is an ingredient of infrastructure that all the member states will have to develop an infrastructure funding. And I'm happy that you realize that Ghana, about the past 6 years, when we had Terminal, I think Terminal 3.
Yes.
At the Ghana ports in Tema. Look, you can tell me, since we had the volume of trade, the volume of containers per day have expanded. And these are not containers of nothing, containers of goods.
Absolutely.
And what is the importance of the AfCFTA? To boost intra-African trade. And so it's non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable item for member states to really seek funding or fund when it comes to ports and harbors. Okay.
All right. So I know you've taken a look at some of the initial impediments, militating against the smooth implementation of AfTA. We're told that a considerable number, satisfactory number of countries have ratified and are ready to join and are already running. Tell me, what do you identify as some of the challenges?
You see, the challenges are normal challenges that always are akin to trade. But the key aspect is AfCFTA member states should know by this time they are moving away from too much of the literature. It is important to look at the industrialization agenda. There is the need to start letting machines sound until we begin to connect our value chains to industrialized products, until we hear the sounds of factories, until we hear the sounds of industrial machines producing something. These are the challenges. We are not producing still yet. We are not having the appropriate linkages. And that, I mean, for example, if you know you are your economy is maybe 40% agricultural economy, that means that you're looking at how you connect agribusiness or agri-processing or connect agricultural sector into the linkage into industrialization or manufacturing. So once you identify your priorities, then it takes you to the next steps. But it seems most African countries either don't recognize the particular sector they are dominant.
Right.
If you're able to identify that you're an agribusiness or you're in the service industry, but if you're an agribusiness, and I think most of the economies in Africa are about 50% agribusiness, that tells us then that we should make sure that we quickly look at the next model of our manufacturing and industry to produce. So until we produce and trade among ourselves, it will continue to import from outside the free trade area. Because then we are still neglecting what exactly will cause the intra-trade production. So we call them enabling factors. Even in the AfCFTA class, we call it factor productivity.
Right.
So the basic economics, how do I combine factors of production to produce? And that is one of the ones that I've seen that most of them have neglected, the factor productivity, how to combine capital, combine labor, combine entrepreneurship, all those land. If you don't combine this well, and add one more, technology. If you don't combine this, we only be saying we are trading among ourselves, but we don't have products. If you go to the shelves, I was making a submission somewhere. If you go, because English-speaking countries, we don't trade more with the French.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised you have a trader move away from Ghana all the way through bypass Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, straight to Nigeria. The same applies. You go to most of our supermarkets, go and see the products on the shelf, whether you will see most typical African products. You won't. Most of the products still on the shelves of most African supermarkets are foreign. So it is a sign that we are still grappling with the fundamentals of the free trade agreement.
Right. Okay, so let me go back to Monsieur Jean-Marie Kofi. Monsieur, if you can hear me, I just want to find out from you, one of the issues that came out strongly, that saw recommendation that you should have improved on is the sharing of data amongst ports. I just want to find out from you whether the ports in West and Central Africa have data to be able to tell the volumes of trade that have been traded under the AfCFTA agreement. Okay, I'm told we've lost Monsieur. They will try and then work him back on the line so that we can, continue with him as far as this discussion is concerned. But let me find out from Mr. Louis Afo what incentives you think ports can put in place to aid, AfCFTA.
I think that we have to look at the value chain in port administration or port sector. You have a lot of chains. You have the freight forwarders, you have the stevedores, and then you have engineers. So that chain within the port should be really expanded, and they should be given recognition. Then again, we need to look at the remuneration structure or the reward structure. It should be competitive. For example, you recall Ghana had dry shipping where you used to repair ships and what have you.
Yeah, the dry docks. They will still have it here in Tema, the Tema shipyard.
If you have Ghanaians who are trained to repair, why would you import the services of foreigners? So one incentive is that let us patronize the services of our local engineers when it comes to that side of it. Let us also look at the cost mechanisms in terms of rates of services being offered by the port to its customers or clients. I don't know much of the rates, but whatever services the ports are giving, because we want to boost into African, we must domesticate the cost.
Right.
It should be able to be affordable for those chain of activities or subsectors within the port administration, port management. If you can't do it, if you don't do that, then it doesn't give them those sectors or those subsectors or those ingredients of people within. It doesn't give them the opportunity to be able to really have that kind of partnership or service approach towards the port itself. So I'm saying that our cost of services or rates of services should be affordable, it should be competitive, so that all the various subs within the port administration will be able, other than some of them will just go bankrupt. Again, some ports are really, it's important to really utilize appropriate technology. And I know, you and I know Ghana for some time, we've been going paperless.
Yeah.
Because where there is no technology in the system, you go by manual. And so for ports, one incentive is that you should have state-of-the-art technology. State-of-the-art technology. Deploy AI systems.
Right.
I remember I was in one country, one African country, and I tell you, I think it was Senegal, Dakar. Look, before you enter the airport, because we're talking about port, airport is a port with air. Before you enter, you go to the airport. By the time you reach the toll booths, they have programmed these AI sensors. Ghana used to have. Once your vehicle or your car approaches about some 2 minutes or 3 minutes to the booth, the radar, the infrared sensors, which you have the card on your car, it just opens up for you. You don't need to queue. So technology reduces man hours and manual effort. By the time you read that, the booth just opens for you and you're going. I'm saying that, so in the same way, when you're entering the ports, most of the gates, most of the security checkpoints, they should deploy technology. You don't need to have these container vehicles line up queuing. Go to Tema, I can show you one area. They queue so much. Why? Deploy technology, make the systems easy, so that they will be able. So that because when you make it easy, you have reduced man effort, you increase the accelerate time and get efficiency. So if that is, those are some of the incentives that our ports should be able to really adopt. In fact, they have no choice because we are in an era where when you are not competitive, another person will be more competitive or attractive.
Right.
And this is what we need to really, this is one of the areas. And again, I think one of the areas is we should also ensure that our ports are security optimal. It's like for some time, Ghana seems not to be so much talking about piracy. You see, it's because I don't know whether we have data that shows we've experienced piracy on our coasts. But we don't need to wait to have one experience before we start preparing us. What is our piracy preparedness? It is an incentive. If somebody, a shipping vessel or a business person wants to go into shipping and he realizes that my port is zero tolerance for security, it's an incentive. He will be ready to go into that. And that's why if they realize, some time ago, most people wrote off the coast of Somalia, Mogadishu, because it was one of the longest coasts in Africa, the longest. So people say, I wouldn't want to. It took European effort to contain the piracy situation. What about West Africa? I know Nigeria is doing a lot. What about our own Ghana? Just we're doing our own miles. What is our security readiness? Are we waiting for something to happen before? You have to now invest in the asset viability.
I think the Navy received some vessels recently, and I saw some patrol boats too. That's for the police to also do patrol. So I think that we're also doing something, on our own as a country.
That is very important. And again, there's nobody does business in the dark. No one knows what you're doing. It's important. Like we have the Eye of the Port, which is a very good program. We need to have updates. The Navy needs to update what you're doing. It boosts the confidence of the people.
Right.
That look, we have the fleet, we have this station, we are 24 hours here, and you don't need to have the. You give people an assurance when you always let them know what you're doing. Until you told me now, I know we have the boats, but I don't know the routine, and that is not something that is classified.
Right.
It will let people know that yes, anybody want to go into that sector, and you come to Ghana ports, we have zero tolerance for security and efficiency. We are good. So that is some of the things I think that ports needs to have. And then the last point I was saying in terms of is feedback system. Some time past, I used to have some business with the ports.
Right.
Feedback system is very key because feedback system, since we are becoming a gateway, we want to trade. Ghana has the headquarters of the African Continent. That's good. So apart from we being the gateway in terms of the institutional process, we need to have also the gateway when it comes to services, infrastructure services, and a port like this. And what is the feedback? How many complaints are cycled or recycled? How many complaints you receive? And how is it programmed? We might take it for granted, but complaints which are addressed in a feedback system becomes a gold mine, because out of the complaints are many suggestions, many innovations, ideas. But you realize that we don't take those, we take it more personal. So we need to have a very strong feedback system. For example, in at the AfCFTA, there was a program that there was what we call the 48 hours complaint system. That one was for the borders, whereby a member state having a problem with any border issue will have to complain within 48 hours. And the country where the problem is arising will have to respond. It was developed with UNCTAD. So that is what I mean. That feedback system should be at our ports, so that when traders or exporters or importers have issues, it doesn't take years to respond. In fact, when the feedback system is strong, it becomes recycled into innovation. This must be. It shouldn't be underestimated. The one who used to go to public offices, I take very serious look. You will see them put their complaint. These days, most of them don't. Maybe they have done it in a more technological form. Whatever be it, our complaint feedbacks, there should be a feedback system, whether through technology or manual, so that feedback system will be processed into innovation. That will keep as a motivation. As for these people, there is zero tolerance for all kind of bureaucracies, all kind of I don't care kind of system. No, you care. As I'm speaking to, let me give you a critical example. A friend traveled to New York. The person was in New York for a program. Her luggage got missing in New York. He was going to Atlanta. Went through the program, the whole at Atlanta.
The luggage got missing at GFA?
Yes.
Okay.
They said they will resolve it. Then went to Atlanta for the program, finished. Even went around some of the US states for some few meetings or all this. And still, there was no feedback. Till today, the person has arrived in Ghana and the luggage has not still been given back.
How long has this been?
Pardon?
How long has this been?
This is about, we are almost getting to about a month plus.
Wow.
That is even, so feedback system. He has not heard anything. So if that is not so, the next time when you are traveling, you have a certain mindset, a certain impression. And those impressions, we call it implicit costs. Because you think you can't quantify the cost. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But the implicit cost is that the next time, I'm not going to make any decision to come there. So I think the port should have a serious feedback system, which will be processed into innovation.
Right. Okay, so you mentioned the issue of technology, deep penetration of technology in the ports, and you also mentioned security that must be enhanced to aid AfCFTA. What role does governments, have to play to aid the ports to be able to do this?
That is critical. So if you look at the AfCFTA itself implementation, the leader, I call them, is governments. And the government partner private sector to really make AfCFTA a reality. But when it comes to certain infrastructure, the first person who have that resource is governments. Government should lay the infrastructure. They should lay the framework and get support. Let me give you an example. You and I cannot get up and say we want to develop rail. You and I cannot get up and say we want to go and build a new port or even inland ports. It takes certain framework, government policy, government framework. What is the law say? Then you come to government committing its resource, not only government of Ghana, the state parties, their government should fund infrastructure. The government should develop, the way we had certain levies for COVID. And we need to, in fact, you see, and Mona, it's hardens me. I don't know, but my observation of governments in Africa seems that we seem to look at infrastructure as a secondary matter. But infrastructure is so key. So when you come to trade, ports are very, very key. Rails, very key. Road, very, very key. And so we need to have a strong budget to fund infrastructure and vis-a-vis, by extension, the ports.
Right.
And so it is important that they lead the way. Then when you want to come for partnership, for example, now McDan Shipping went towards, approached the AfCFTA Secretariat and said, look, I want to partner you. And so the AfCFTA has a program, they call it the AfCFTA Trading Companies. So that private sector companies who want to do something with the Secretariat for the state parties, they will give you that support, that backing. So I think his shipping line decided to ship after goods. Maybe I'm sure at a discount or something. That is a good initiative. And so when the government have a good policy, a good framework, and shows the way, then the private sector will just fall in. There was a story, I think Zambia. The trucks that were heading towards the port, I think, the queue was so terrible. And I think that the Secretariat too, I think the Secretary General approached and asked questions. Do you think, is there a way that we can resolve this issue? They said, look, then why don't we develop maybe the sports or that infrastructure? So immediately then the Secretariat can lead you, recommend you to maybe some of these regional banks, maybe AfCFTA Bank or AFDB. So if there is a problem with infrastructure, in connection with the AfCFTA, government can identify and approach the Secretariat and say, look, can you help me secure funding from the AfCFTA Bank for me to develop or to enhance this infrastructure gap?
Right.
It will help you. They will help you. When Equatorial Guinea, I think 2009, 2010, when we're having some issues with oil, fuel issues,
right?
They wanted to, I think, supply Ghana, but at that time we're not having gas. They wanted to supply. They didn't have this infrastructure at the port for the gas.
The FPSO or something.
No, not the FS. The gas they have. I've forgotten the rider. The
pipelines.
Yeah, no, to store.
Right.
They have a term for it. We're not having it. So it was making it difficult. Now the Equatorial Guinea government, what he's doing now is he wants to rather supply more support to African countries under AfCFTA than exporting it to Spain. After all, they were under the Portuguese.
Right.
So the government should identify infrastructure gap these, approach the right international institutions. I'm not talking about IMF or World Bank. Just our neighbors here, AfCFTA. After all, we have shares when it comes to AfCFTA Bank and AFDB.
Yeah.
That is very important. So maybe we are not yet identifying that we have some needs. And when we identify, we had the inland port gap at the Bankora. I hope I mentioned the name correctly. The Bankora inland ports. We did it. So these are some of the things. These are the things that governments needs to do. And when they're able to do it, the private sector, who is already positioned, will be prepared. I remember I led a team of investors to the railway ministry about 2 or 3 years ago. They wanted to, develop our rail. They came with, it's a continental one.
Right.
When you go to the Ministry of Railway, they have the plans there. And I'm sure I've been told that some works have started. But I think we need more. Because, Mona, when you have ports, it is important your railway develops alongside.
Right.
Look critically at Tema. When you reach, before you enter Tema city from the beach road, you realize that there is a railway, I'm sure Nkrumah built. What was the essence of it? Because so that rail will transport the containers from the port to up. So it will ease this long road trips that these cargoes have to go to, and even destroying our routes.
Yeah.
So when you invest heavily into what we call sister infrastructures, because you do rail, you do ports, it goes like that. Then you do air, then you do other,
talking about multimodal transport.
Exactly. So most of the ports, there is a burden on it because what the modal part, that needs to go along with them are not there. And so there is a pressure. But when we are able to finish this rail, even to the north, all these north goods that are coming from the north, so Bono, cashew nuts, what have you, which will takes about sometimes a day or two, within hours, if our rails are ready and viable, this infrastructure. So governments should approach.
Yeah.
And I think that when we're able to do that, so infrastructure is the belly of AfCFTA. Go to Morocco. I always use Morocco as a critical example. Go and see. They have what we call the economic zone, the free, special economic zones.
Yes.
And you know, Morocco has really also invested in solar infrastructure. So not to move away from that, I'm trying to say that there are so many linkages of infrastructure. You do one, and if you leave the other, the pressure on the other one will make sure it will collapse.
Yeah.
As we are doing, we've done Terminal 3, and I'm told that government is looking at other inland ports.
Right.
Because what are inland ports? We need to explain to the people what are inland ports. Look at our lakes. Which lakes or rivers do we have in other parts of the country that we can build inland ports? It's only to cut costs of transit.
Yeah.
And so we need to invest in that. And when you approach a multilateral partner, like this is what you want to do, I don't want to, let me remind you, there was this Danish government. The Danish helped us along the way. When President Kofo was in power, I think they built some frozens.
Okay.
Kind of this cold machines. Cold stores. You remember? For some time, you go, and maybe, but all those machines are totally out of. It's not functioning.
Right.
And they asked some Spanish to come and check. They realized that there are certain parts that we need. Why must such infrastructure be left to deteriorate? So we need to have, the checks and balances when it comes to infrastructure. You do this, make sure you have its sister. Other than that, the pressure will collapse what is there.
You don't think that we are aware, government is aware, all the parties are aware of the need for requisite infrastructure and are doing their best, but perhaps because of the capital-intensive nature of infrastructure in the maritime industry, that's why perhaps we are a bit laid back.
So you and I were not there. These are things that we've been hearing. Government has not come to say so. Maybe we are speaking for him. But I'm looking at governments in my little survey. Governments within the AfCFTA must take the bull by the horn. If you don't have your capacity is limited, but approach a multilateral agency for that project. Look, let me tell you one thing. The policy, and I'm not being a partisan here, the one district, one factory policy that the government had, it's an infrastructure issue.
Right.
It is a policy that will really enhance. If this policy will really be reviewed and look critically, it could be a very good model for the AfCFTA. Because when you say one for it, it's not just the name district. It means one resource location, one factory. And what will you need? You will need infrastructure. Because if you have that kind of system that looks like the free zones, you have economies of scale. And so if you are approaching an international funding agency for some project like this, which they look at the cost-benefit analysis and look at the benefit that will accrue, which is a long-term, medium, and even short, who will not help you? So we need to look at those ones because they are infrastructure. Because if you are doing one, they say one factory, if you go and set up an orange factory at where there's more orange, it's not just producing. You need to have storage. Because if you don't, it will still go bad. Do you remember the famous silos at Tema?
Yeah.
Why was it built? The one at before you go to the fishing port in Tema. Kwame Nkrumah built those silos. What was the purpose? You and I know. So you need that policy. So policies, some of them are short-lived because it doesn't have infrastructure to hold it up. And infrastructure here, we have energy infrastructure, we have road infrastructure. Today we are talking about ports. You need, even the ports, there are other sub-infrastructure that you need. Must we always go electricity at the ports? We should look at certain lands around the ports which we can generate serious solar panels. Morocco has the largest solar panels in the. Go to the north, Boko. I have been able to move a bit up there. Go to Boko just after Binduri.
Yeah.
And look to your right, you will see the Sahel. What infrastructure can't we get from there? You see, we're always looking at the natural resources. We need more of these technology-based resources to augment.
Right, the natural resources, yeah.
At the ports. If, for instance, we have energy crisis now, and the whole port shuts, because of no electricity power. Do we have that solar capacity? Look at the way the sun has been raining down these days. Do we have the solar capacity? And what shows that we can't do it? Others have done it. So why don't we learn from them and ask them, how much did it cost? If they say it cost ABC, ask them, where did they get it? Infrastructure is something that is not negotiable. If the AfCFTA will survive. And I'm happy about the mode that Equatorial Guinea is taking. A very robust. One infrastructure they're going to do is Equatorial Guinea is doing what they call the 5 giants. They are diversifying the economy.
Right.
And one of them is digitalization, infrastructure. They want to lay fiber under the sea. It's going to be expensive, but they know what they are going to get out of it.
Right.
Other countries in Africa export their soil. Do you know that? What infrastructure can't we have? If we export our soil for them to go and plant apple, for you and Mona and I to be buying apple and what the other was, the apple and what?
We have apple.
Grapes. I've said we buy grapes and apple because we say you can't plant it here.
Yeah.
But some grapes, African countries export their soil to those countries where they are producing the apple and grapes. And I'm saying, why don't you ask them what it would take, now that you have the soil, which is the main one, that you cannot plant these crops? It's infrastructure. It's infrastructure.
Right.
And technology always unveils itself in so many ways. It sees itself in infrastructure. It sees itself in any sector. So we need to take a critical look at all these. And at the end of the day, I think that when we're able to do that, we will make the AfCFTA not a literature talk, but a productive agreement. Remember, the AfCFTA is not just trade, We are looking at one African market.
Right.
And that one African market, if we don't take the base one well implemented, we can't get there. But one African market, you need to have one currency. You need infrastructure when it comes to having one currency, one central bank. Apart from that, you need what again? You need a unionized customs or external custom. So that when I go to South Africa at the port, whatever is done in South Africa, I go to Nigeria, is the same. So therefore, the AfCFTA, the free trade is very, very important. It goes beyond the fact that we have signed an agreement to the fact that we need, and I'm happy about the protocol on investment. They say that member states should promote investment, and capital is key. I think when we're able to deploy these debtors,
we'll be able we'll get in there. All right, so this is Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we're taking a look at the role of ports in West and Central Africa in the smooth implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And we have in the studios Mr. Louis Yao Aful, who is the Executive Director of the AfTA Policy Network. Indeed, earlier we had been joined by Monsieur Jean-Marie Kofi, who is the Secretary General of the Port Management Association of West and Central Africa. He joined us via Zoom, and we lost him along the line, and the production team are working the lines to see if we can get him back so that we can conclude this discussion. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Please stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, boss, fill my tank with Super XP Raw 95.
Well out with Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for a
Choose Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Raw 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Yeah. Our our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. Mr. Louis Awaful is still in the studios. I'm told we're unable to get Monsieur Jean-Marie Kofi back because he's facing some technical challenges as far as the Zoom connection is concerned. And so we would continue here in the studios. But I've been told that we can activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. Remember, we're taking a look at the role of ports in West and Central Africa in the smooth implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And this topic comes on the back of the 43rd Annual Council meeting and 18th Roundtable of Director Generals and Managing Directors of Ports Management Association of West and Central Africa, and that's why we're trying to examine what our readiness level is as far as, this after arrangement is concerned. So you can call in. The number to dial is 020-552-8353, 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Pretty shortly, we shall be going to the inbox as well to bring you the messages that you have sent. So let me continue with you. Now, some people argue about the fact that we are so much fixated on trade, revenue mobilization at the detriment or to the detriment of, trade facilitation, and hence the need to balance the two, trade facilitation, revenue mobilization, where there should be some effective collaboration between the ports, port authorities, and the customs, who are those that are in charge of revenue collection and mobilization at the ports. Do you agree with this school of thought?
Yes, I do agree. I would even want to see anything line between them. because the AfCFTA agreement encourages members. It's one of the very, very conspicuous clauses or articles that says that at all levels, members should mobilize revenue. That is why the AfCFTA will not, the Secretariat will not interrupt or interfere with your revenue mobilization, except it becomes inimical to the preferences or the concessions you give. Remember when we had the e-levy, people were asking questions, won't it frown on after? No, because you are mobilizing to raise revenue, and you had the right to. So what the port need to do, the custom, the revenue mobilizers and the port, is to harmonize. Harmonization is key, and AfCFTA have been pushing this, that there's the need for harmonization of institutions. It is key. If we harmonize institutions, everything that is done is transparent and it becomes collaborative. Because if you don't harmonize, then A will be doing what, B will also be doing something else. But if A and B knows that what we are doing, if we really integrate our activities and process, it will yield a better result. So that you know, it's very frustrating to know that maybe customs don't, the revenue ones don't know the infrastructure, the deficiencies at the ports, by which maybe they have to look at their cost of rates that they will be given. They need to know. Then those at the port also will have to advise. And let them look, we need, at this stage, we have come out with new technology, so and so, and based on that, we think we recommend that these rates should be charged. So you work in harmony. So if we harmonized, then it makes it easier. It puts you on a very high wavelength ahead of the others. For example, when the first AfCFTA pilots products were sent to South Africa, they were not ready. In fact, they had not had any
training,
not training,
information,
any policy on that. If you know, when you sign ratify an agreement by Parliament, you need to have a national policy in place. So they had not had any kind of, they had not aligned their policy, or there were no legal instruments, legislative instruments to really enhance the implementation of that customs procedures. Because the AfCFTA says that there will be collaboration with, they said there will be customs management and procedure. Why? Because we are not a customs union yet, so we have to manage it by partnering. So if at the national level, institutions are mandated to do that, they need to harmonize the activity, they need to integrate. And one of the things that made Ghana a stepping stone ahead in the AfCFTA implementation was because government initiated an interministerial committee. So you have from foreign affairs, you have from trade, you have from information, you have from security. We were all in a committee to draft the national policy on the AfCFTA Ghana. Why? Because if you don't harmonize institutions, it will be difficult. And immigration was part of that ministerial committee. So to the question you asked me, that's the answer. I say they need to harmonize the activities and integrate, so that it's not like somebody they are competing each other, but for the common good of getting results for the clients and customers who would like to be treated with optimal services.
Okay, I get it. Now let's take a look at the trade liberalization policies and how we can get them to go down to the ground for effective implementation to aid, this whole thing.
Trade liberalization. Are you talking about the member states?
Yes. Trade liberalization.
The preferences they've given?
The policies, the various
tariffs.
Yes.
Mona, per the AfCFTA, the architecture or the operationalization tools has said there is the need for what we call the Africa Trade Observatory. The Africa Trade Observatory, to the ordinary person, is, let's say, the website or the information shop where countries must publish their preferences or their concessions. If you say that when I'm trading with you, I have liberalized these products at 10%, maybe 5 years ago, I have not liberalized. You are supposed to furnish the After Secretariat everything you are doing.
Right.
And it must be published on the Africa Trade Observatory. So that now they have what we call the e-tariff. The e-tariff, you and I can go there and see the countries and the tariffs they've offered. The last time I went there, I checked Seychelles, I checked Mauritius, Bata. What concessions have they offered? So if you are not publishing, and it's that idea of the Africa Trade Observatory was to make sure countries don't work in the dark and come ambush. I use the word ambush other state parties. What do I mean by that? For example, there was a coffee producer who complained that she shipped coffee here only to realize that Ghana said they have changed their policy on that, and therefore they've not liberalized. And she was very frustrated because per the agreement, what she understood was that once we have liberalized, every goods can come in, every goods can go out. And when I checked, Ghana changed policy, I think, way before the AfCFTA implementation came to force.
Yes.
If Ghana changed after the AfCFTA liberalization took off, then what it means is that Ghana would have written to the Secretariat and said that, look, we have amended these preferences or this tariff regime, and please amend your records accordingly. What do the Secretariat do? Then they'll be able to publish in the African Trade Observatory for every country to know, so that you don't wait for the exporter to bring the goods at your customs point and say that you have changed your policy. So what do you expect the exporter to do? To take the goods back? So those are some of the things that ambushment member states cannot do. And I don't think, I don't have any record of any of them currently undertaking that process. Again, in terms of liberalization, we should realize that the moment you talk about trade liberalization, or the moment you talk about free trade, the first thing you need to know is that you are in a competitive age. You have opened your borders, automatic. So you cannot be protectionist at the same time competing. In a free trade, protectionist rate is low. You have called for open market, a competitive market. So I have a problem when state parties at one point seems to championing that let's have a liberalized system, and at the end of the day, they also have internal policies that are protectionist in its nature. Then we have not done anything. We have gone back to the old barriers.
Yes.
Why did you say we want to have free trade? We want to eliminate certain barriers to trade.
Right.
And so these are some of the things we need to look at critically. You can't engage, you can't eat your cake and still have it.
Okay, so we'll now take a look at the role of customs administrations and their role of liberalizing trade in the region.
Yes, I think that I just put some few facts here. Look, if you take 5 top ports in Africa, with Durban as the key, Durban have about 4.5, that's a million vessels yearly. They have 8,300 containers per month. Tell me. And they trade $45 billion. Tell me, what other role do you think this will play, the port will play? If we expand, this is the traffic we will receive. The focus of AfCFTA is trade, intra-trade.
Right.
Volumes. Value on your primary goods. So look at one port at Durban. $45 billion is what is accruing. 8,300 container per month. So if you have West Africa and the other port, Mombasa.
Yes.
Mombasa is also equally huge in capacity, and you can imagine the role. So if you are connecting the role of port in AfCFTA, then you have to explain the fact that per the number of traffic containers that you are able to operate, per the number of vessels, how in and out, export and import, you'll be able to measure. Now, one thing that will shock you, the global supply chain, or the global supply chain, Africa is only 1.9%.
Right.
Is it good? 1.9%.
Yeah.
That means we are not trading more. Therefore, it is important that I always say that the ports and harbors, it is one of the major legs and pillars on which the AfCFTA thrives, and can be successful. I was going to mention the other ports. If you take Port Said and Alexandria, and then you come down to our own Terminal 3, we need to know that the role of ports in the AfCFTA is not negotiable. Wherever we get money to even build more, we need to construct more inland. These days that we have unpredictable climatic conditions, we have a lot of lakes and rivers that we can have some inland ports.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, I think that the role is not negotiable. Then again, one important thing is that ports also ensure that there is a large product variation. Because what air cargo can bring is far less compared to what the ports will do.
Yes.
And therefore, what happens? We have what we call, in supermarket terms, product variations. There are a lot of variations in products that are being produced across Africa. And when there are a lot of, the Bible says, forgive me, I said the Bible says, that's what I said. You know, there's a lot of, when there's product variations, prices fall. The higher the supply, the lower what? The price.
Okay.
Therefore, if we have ports having more imports or more exports of products from other countries, you will have your supply curve higher, and at least variation, product variance will be so much, and what will happen? Prices for us. We are sitting here, Mr. Mona, if the water we have in front of us, you have about so many of them, what happens? The prices fall
down,
because it's competitive. You have substitutes, and therefore you're able to make a choice.
Yeah.
But if you don't have product variation, it means that you don't have more products coming into your territory. And the only way they can come in is through a bigger opening door, the ports.
Right.
And so the role they play, it's intrinsic. You can't measure. You close the ports today, intra-trade is finished.
Yeah.
How many aircrafts or how many planes or airlines do we have in Africa? You tell me.
Right.
They can't replace ports.
We've been told that AfCFTA has made Africa the biggest trading bloc in the world. How come?
Because 54 countries have signed at a goal. The WTO, it took time. We had members adding here and there.
Right.
But this is a single block. The reason we call it a single block is that 54 presidents signed at a goal.
Right.
When they say they signed, it means they accepted it.
Yes.
And look at, and apart from that also, in terms of geographical strength, then apart from that also, they liberalized unimaginable 90% of tariffs.
Right.
90, not 50.
Yes.
90%. If WTO should do it, the world will be a fair ground for doing business. And again, unlike WTO, which have not, I think it was last year they gave Africa an observatory status. We have said it clear. Any goods that will come outside the AfCFTA trading area cannot be given a preferential treatment. It makes our agreement very solid. And I also urge that we should stand as one. We should not hide behind all manner of partnership agreements. Today you hear us, one country signing some kind of partnership agreement that gives, certain concessions. Under this free trade, AfCFTA, you cannot give a preferential treatment to a third-party country or a third party outside the free trade area and then come and show an opposite or contrary treatment to your state party, member state party. So it makes our agreement solid.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Louis Yao-Afol is the Executive Director of the AfCFTA Policy Network Group. And tonight we've been taking a look at the readiness of ports in West and Central Africa to aid the smooth implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that's AfCFTA. Remember earlier on we were joined on Zoom by the Secretary General of the Port Management Association of West and Central Africa, Monsieur Jean-Marie Kofi. We lost him along the line and we did all we could to get him back, but we failed. Indeed, we're unsuccessful, so to speak. I would like to say big thanks to our sponsors, that's the Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. Remember, the show is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. We shall be airing the abridged version of the show on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. Make a date and watch that. And remember to keep watching the rest of our programs here on Metro TV. God willing, next week we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of your favorite maritime and shipping program, Eye on Port. My name is Kennedy Mona. We thank you so much for being our guest, and we wish you a very super week ahead. Good evening, and thanks for watching.